Yeah, yeah.
What's good? It's your boy Jay, that's me. We're going to discuss TNA Impact from May the 8th, 2025. A pretty okay show for the most part. So, we've got some news and notes to go over. Apparently, Savannah Evans is no longer with TNA. Her contract ended up not being renewed, and she is a free agent. I think her contract expired on April 30th or May 1st. I believe it was May 1st. So she's been a free agent. I wonder who will pick her up. It could be WWE, mainly NXT, or it could be AEW, or she could just work the indie circuit for a little bit. I don't know. But Savannah Evans, I liked her. I feel like she did okay in TNA. I think she's only been in the business for about a good, I'd say between 2 and 5 years. Nothing longer than that. I think she would do fairly well in NXT. So hopefully Shawn Michaels ends up picking her up. All right, let's go ahead and get into the show. So we kick the show off with Trick Williams. Whoop that trick. So Trick Williams, he asked if TNA didn't have love for him and says that he finally has arrived and has 3% body fat and can snatch a woman's heart. He talks about his cars named after ladies, and he says he's here for one reason and one reason only. He took out the golden goose of TNA in Joe Hendry. Trick says that the fans can boo all they want, but Hendry came to NXT to embarrass him, so he's here in TNA embarrassing Average Joe. Damn, I like that. Trick says that Joe wanted to be everyone's friend and be liked, but Trick wants to be respected. Trick says he's going to take Joe out, take all his friends, and then take over his brand, and that'll probably make him sick. So then Joe Hendry shows up. Trick and Joe have a small little brawl, a brief little brawl, basically. And then the security team is able to, pull both guys apart. And Trick is able to escape outside the ring. And Joe Hendry then beats up security guards. And he ends up giving one of them a standing ovation chokeslam. Pretty good way to kick off the show. I like this. I'm very intrigued with the Joe Hendry and Trick Williams feud. I really do hope that come Battleground, NXT ends up pulling the trigger with this partnership with TNA, and they end up switching the titles. I think that would be great. So, having Trick win and being TNA champion, that would be great. That would be really, really good. He didn't have to keep it long in any way. Apparently, WWE, they're still looking at bringing in Joe Hendry. I would imagine that once Joe Hendry's contract is up with TNA, he's damn sure NXT bound. I can see him being in NXT for about maybe 6 months, and then after that, he goes to the main roster. So, there's that. There's quite a few guys that can step up and fill the shoes of Joe Hendry. Number 1 being Elias, and number 2 would be Mike Santana. So they got a couple of guys that can take Joe Hendry's spot whenever that time comes. But this was an okay way to start the show. Moving on. So, this leads us into Robert Stone. He's backstage with Victoria Crawford, a.k.a. Alicia Fox. Robert Stone talks about how a dog collar match is not something he approves of and can't see upper management liking it either. He tells Crawford to focus on her debut later on in the show. Okay, cool. So then this leads us into the first match of the night. Xia Li, a.k.a. Li Ling Li, she defeats Rosemary. So towards the end of the match, Rosemary ended up getting in the face of Brookside, who was on commentary during the match. And she wanted her to bring in the brass knuckles. So Xia does not oblige. And then this allowed for Li Ling Li to hit her finish, the Thunderstruck for the 1, 2, 3. Pretty good stuff there. So this is fine. All right. I guess they're still going to continue that feud. Moving on. So this then leads us into a backstage segment with Trick Williams and Mike Santana. So he's walking the halls that made Mike Santana. He passes Trick Williams. The two of them, they stop and stare at each other for a brief moment. And then they continue on their... They continue on their respective paths. So Mike Santana then approaches Sami Callihan. He's seated on the steps with John Goblinkin or whatever. Who cares? So they show respect for each other. First class, AJ Francis and Casey Navarro, they come into the picture. They end up trying to offer Sami Callihan a spot in the first class. So Sami Callihan wasn't interested, obviously. And then it seems like they're trying to form a breakup with AJ Francis and Casey Navarro. So that's can be some pretty cool shit there. I do like that. Casey Navarro deserves way better because AJ Francis is a fucking bum. He just is. So, there's that. Moving on. So then this leads us into the Elegance brand. Ash and Heather and George Iceman, who is the personal concierge of the faction, they give a cinematic style segment without any words. They basically give a makeover to Maggie. I can't remember her last name, but they end up giving a makeover to Maggie, which is pretty cool. It's interesting. I do like this, so cool stuff there. So we'll see how that goes. Moving on. So this leads us into the Good Hands. They were defeated by the Aztec Warriors, which is Octagon Jr. and Laredo Kid, which is great. Octagon Jr., he is now signed with TNA, which is good. So really good stuff there. I'm pretty sure he's going to be a part of the Worlds Collide event with NXT, TNA, and AAA. That should be a fun time there. So good stuff. Before the match got started, though, the Great Hands, they cut a promo, talk about how Mustafa Ali is changing and how the world will find out soon how it felt. So, there's that. Then Mustafa Ali shows up. So he attempts to beat down Octagon Jr. and Laredo Kid. And then the Rascals, they come down to make the save. Then this leads us into Mustafa Ali versus Trey Miguel, where Mustafa Ali defeats Trey Miguel. So that's pretty cool there. Match was all right. Moving on. So this leads us into Indy Hartwell. She has a backstage promo. We see a bunch of photos of her wrestling fandom as a child, and then she's showing off the old TNA replica title belts and DVDs she's had for years. She talks about her goal of becoming not a knockout, but the knockout. Okay, I like this. This is pretty good shit here. We'll have to wait and see how things play out. I wonder who she's going to feud with first. It could be Step the Lander. Don't know. Have to wait and see. Moving on. So the Hardys, they come out next to a really good reaction. So Matt Hardy gets on the mic, and he talks about the connection they've always had with the fans, whom they call the Die Hardys. Matt then mentions how they lost the TNA World Tag Team Championships at TNA Rebellion, and they haven't had a good past few weeks either. Matt vows that they'll do what they've always done, and that's fight, claw, and scratch their way back to once again becoming TNA World Tag Team Champions. to Jeff Hardy gets on the mic, and he just reiterates that fact, and then he sings the obsolete song. He'll classify he'll classify himself as obsolete. So then the Nemeths, they come out. So Ryan Nemeth basically mocks the Hardys, saying that's touching. He taunts them for blowing it at TNA Rebellion. He says, don't worry, because his big brother and him are going to take the tag team division to new heights. So Nick Nemeth makes fun of the crowd. He says they have a plane they have a plane to catch, so he's going to continue. He doesn't care. The Nemeths tell the Hardys that this is their place now. They run TNA. And then Ryan declares that he and Nick are the greatest brother tag team of all time. Nick says that he's feeling generous. He says that Under Siege, on May 23rd in Canada, the Hardys can have the rematch. And Ryan says that they're going to make it even better. It's going to be a ladder match. So the Nemeths, they bring up how they forgot Jeff can't actually travel into Canada. They said, never mind, and then they attempt to walk off, but Santana Marella, he shows up. He says that he's not sure what type of shenanigans they think they're up to. He says Jeff can't travel to Canada, so it's going to be like this. Next week, it'll be Jeff Hardy versus Nick Nemeth one-on-one, and then Under Siege is going to be the Nemeths versus Matt Hardy and a partner of his choosing. And then Jeff Hardy says he'll see Nick Nemeth next week. Okay, cool, that's fine. Moving on. This then leads us into the debut of Victoria Crawford, a.k.a. Alicia Fox. She defeats a jobber by the name of Brittany Brooks, BB. So she ends up winning via the axe kick. Okay, cool. Post-match, Alicia Fox gets on the mic and she talks some trash. Masha Slamovich shows up and she confronts her. They have a little brawl, and then Tessa Blanchard shows up. And then Santana Marella, he shows up to break everything up. He says that next week it's going to be Tessa Blanchard and Victoria Crawford against Masha and a partner of her choosing. But Robert Stone came out and says that he'll pick for them, and it's going to be an NXT superstar Nikita Lyons, which is great. So that's cool. Really good stuff there. Excellent shit there. All right. Main event of the evening. Steve Maclin defeats Eric Young. They had a dog collar match. Who gives a shit? There was a lot of blood in this, and I just don't care. So apparently next week it's going to be a fatal four-way. Matt Cardona, Elijah, and who else? Matt Cardona, Elijah. It doesn't really matter who else is involved in this thing. Who cares? So it is what it is. Maclin wins via the KIA. So whatever. Who gives a shit about this? So apparently TNA is going to not allow any more guys to blade. So this is leading to them having a TV deal, which is awesome. That's good. They're trying to be WWE light, which I do appreciate. Leave the blading and stuff to fucking AEW. Let that be their problem. And AEW doesn't really do it as much anymore, as much as they used to, especially back like during the pandemic and like early 2022 and a little bit in 2023. But for the last couple of years, they've not really, done a lot with the blading in AEW outside of John Moxley. Ugh. But other than that, it is what it is. This show, for the most part, was okay. I enjoyed the Trick Williams, Joe Hendry Brawl. I thought that was pretty decent. I didn't care for the main event. Thank the creator above that we don't have to deal with Eric Young and Steve Maclin at the pay-per-view, which is great. So, thankfully, Under Siege, we're not going to have to deal with Steve Maclin and Eric Young, so that's a plus for me. Praise the Most High for that one. That was great. So, you know, it is what it is. Under Siege, to me, seems kind of okay. We don't really have any matches announced. I know they were going to talk about doing Diener and Eddie Edwards, but you could also blow that off on a tape. I mean, one of the TNA tapings. So that's what I would do. But you know, it is what it is. But I wonder who Matt Hardy's partner is going to be. I don't know. I want to go out on a limb and say maybe Elijah. Maybe, I don't know. I still think they are going to have Trick Williams be the one who defeats Joe Hendry, and they're going to put Joe Hendry in a chasing position. Again, we don't know really when Joe Hendry's contract is up with TNA. We don't know. Excuse me. I'll assume it'll be probably sometime next year, but we have to wait and see. But what did you guys think of TNA Impact? Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.